What's up, everybody?
Welcome back to Mile Higher Podcast, episode 148. And today we are going to have a little chitty-chatsky about time travel. Is it possible?
Theories
Has it
about
been
it.
Done?
Oh yeah, there's so many things we're going to talk about today.
Plenty.
I'm going to put my physicist hat on today.
Oh boy.
Hell yeah.
And I'm going to attempt to teach you about time travel.
Damn, that's
Good luck.
that's a big promise.
Good luck.
Yeah, we'll
I know.
see.
We'll see
about
how that goes. But it's a very interesting subject that I think we're
is.
all fascinated by.
And very hard to really truly wrap your mind around.
Yeah, and I mean, even scientists don't even fully understand, all of this stuff either. So it's like you can't really go wrong when you're talking about time travel because at the end of the day, we really don't know for sure if it's possible or not. But before we all time travel together, I've got a few interesting stories I wanted to mention. Also, this episode is brought to you by Third Love, Pretty Litter, Stamps, and HelloFresh. All right. So the first story I've got is coming from Harvard scientist Avi Loeb. And we talked about him way back.
Yes, we
back
did.
in 2017.
I was going to say this name sounds familiar.
So Avi Loeb is a very well-known, renowned, basically scientist, astronomer, astrophysicist. He's written hundreds and hundreds of academic papers. He's worked alongside Stephen Hawking even. And so he clearly knows what he's talking about when we're talking about the universe and space. And so if you remember back to October 2017, there was an object that came flying into our solar system from outside of it.
And many people referred to it as the cigar.
The cigar-shaped UFO is what it was, kind of called by many people. And, by astronomers, they were saying, oh, this is just some type of, large asteroid or something that came from, outside the solar system. But what's
like weirdly shaped.
Yeah, a weirdly shaped object. But what was interesting about this is the way that it came through our solar system. It literally flew by like all of the planets on its way in, flew right past Earth, past all the other planets before exiting the solar system. So
Seemed
like a
very
flyby.
deliberate path.
Yes. Basically like, a drive-by type situation where it's just coming through to see, what's happening. So there was a lot of controversy about what this object was.
Yes.
And ultimately, most scientists and astronomers said that this was some sort of asteroid or, a piece of, some type of material. Yeah, something along those lines. But Avi Loeb, he's been very, very intrigued by this whole, and this object was called Uma, which is a Hawaiian word that roughly translates as scout. And this is because it was actually the observatory in Hawaii that we've seen.
Yeah, we went there.
Yeah, it's so cool that actually spotted this object. And what's interesting, though, is that Avi Loeb has come forward recently in the news and been talking about how he believes this object was, in fact, some sort of advanced civilization coming to check us out and doing some sort of surveillance or intelligence mission to check out our solar system. The other reason this is kind of popping back up in the news is also because Avi Loeb came out with a book called Extraterrestrial, The First Sign of Intelligent Life Beyond Earth. And in the book, he talks about how he believes this may have, if you didn't know everything else that we know as far as, UFOs and going back, years and years and years all the way to Roswell, if you didn't believe any of that was, and I don't know if he believes in whether or not those events were extraterrestrial or not, but
he believes in,
But it seems like from his point of view, Uma may have been the first time that some sort of extraterrestrial life had actually come to our solar system before.
The first time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just making that in the academic community, just putting that out there has gotten him a lot of backlash from other professors and other scientists and stuff who don't agree with him and think quite the opposite. But he's been like pretty bold about coming out and saying what he believes. So it's like, who do you believe at this point? Do you believe all these other academics and astronomers and stuff who say, no, we haven't been visited yet. There's no evidence of life outside of Earth as far as we know.
Well, how does anyone truly prove their theory? I think it's good to present your own theory no matter what, and it creates conversation and critical thinking about it, which is good.
Yeah, that is good. But the problem is that some of these academics out there even just completely aren't even open to the idea that this was some sort of spacecraft or something that came through.
That seems pretty ignorant. Why not?
Exactly. Why not?
Wouldn't it be?
I mean, the shape of it was very, it would resemble what we would think of a UFO spacecraft would look like. It was like very flat. It was cigar shaped. And I mean,
just its pattern of movement, like
right,
you said.
Right.
Yeah.
And it clearly had a, like, what are the chances that this was just some random event that happened that literally flew in, did a perfect pass through right by the Earth through all of our other planets before exiting the solar system like that?
Well, it's also weird because I was reading about it, and I guess the way that it appeared, it like accelerated as it departed our cosmic area.
Yeah, that is right.
Which is similar to what a comet would do. But the problem is Uma had no visible tail.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So it looked like an asteroid, but acted like a comet. So it didn't make sense. And they were like, okay, so then what is it? And scientists, like, they still don't necessarily know for sure because it kind of like defies our typical rules that we have. And yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
For rocks
around those types of objects. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, well, the only other explanation there is if it's something not natural, then if it's something artificial, what could it be? Because it almost seems like it was being piloted by something. The way that it acted, the way that it flew through and it was gone.
Seem like that. Yeah.
Plus, a lot of people have seen cigar-shaped UFOs before. Like, this is a pretty common type of shape of UFO that people see in the skies. So is there any connection there? It's very interesting. But
it is so interesting.
All these like really, really smart people are, you know, and academics. I mean, he's a Harvard University scientist. Like, this is clearly a very intelligent guy.
Specializes in cosmology, you know.
Yeah. I just feel like you got to take his opinion pretty seriously. And I've thought this pretty much the whole time. I thought this has got to be some sort of craft of some, whether it's alien or it's, you know, something just beyond what we know about.
I think I definitely agree with him about that, but it being the first sign of intelligent life, I don't know. Because I mean, some people, a lot of people now think that aliens are here and have been here for a long time, that they might look like us. You know, we talked about that a few weeks ago.
I'm a shed, right?
Yeah, I'm a shed.
Wait, exactly. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he had said that intelligent life was already on the planet and looks just like us, and we can't distinguish it. So who can you really believe? Because no one really has the proof to back up their theory that far.
Right.
I think most people nowadays are in agreement that there probably is intelligent life somewhere in the universe.
Right.
You know, it's just.
Is there enough evidence to prove that?
Have they been there?
We
Is
can't
this the
say that
first
with
time?
fact.
Was that actually intelligent life, or was it just a comet or space junk, or who knows? But yeah, it's interesting. It's like one of those things where you can present so many theories because no one can prove them wrong.
Right.
No one can prove them right, but
I think
it's just a lot of talk.
Right. And I think the other thing too is that this was caught by a telescope too. Like a NASA telescope caught this and actually tracked it all the way through. Like, this has a lot of data behind it as far as what, you know, scientists have been able to capture about this object and be able to observe it in a way that most other UFO sightings don't get observed by NASA
now,
telescopes and
they
stuff,
should
as far as we know.
Be able to figure out what it is, right?
Yeah.
By now?
I think they probably do know what it is, exactly what it is, but they're just not saying what it is.
I agree. That's
So
what I think too.
Really interesting. I mean, we say this all the time, but it's just going to be really cool to see what happens with the whole alien discussion, and UFOs just in general. I think is going to be in the news more and more.
Yep, it's moving really fast lately.
And just the implications of that, like, how's that going to change our civilization? Is that going to allow us to move to the next level on the Kardashev scale? Can we get to a global civilization?
I don't know. Those are the questions I don't think anyone has the answers to.
Nope.
How
We're
can you
just
predict?
on this wild ride of life.
I know. It feels like that lately, especially. Just constant madness. Oh, yeah. Which leads us to our next story. So you guys know that we record our show a few days in advance so that we have time to edit and everything. So sometimes we're a little bit behind the news cycle, especially lately because the news cycle is moving so fast. Who knows what is even going to happen with this story by the time that this episode goes up, but it's changing by the hour. We literally just got another update on it right now. But the stock market, some crazy shit is going down.
Yeah, it's rich versus poor right now.
Yeah, it definitely is.
It's really interesting because I'm very new to the stock market. Like, I only got into it like maybe like 2 years ago or something. When
I'm not in it.
Yeah.
I'm scared of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you are in it because it's technically our money.
Oh, yeah. I guess we're married. I don't deal with it, though.
So it's very, I still really don't even understand like half the shit that goes on in the stock market. I just know that stocks go up and down and, you know, their earnings, you know, affects how those stocks do. And there's a lot of other factors, obviously, which I'm not even try to attempt to explain. But with this scenario, it's very interesting because this is actually a pretty big event where the people are essentially forcing the hands of the hedge funds that are, you know, basically puppet the entire stock market. And they're not happy with us right now.
No. Oh, they're pissed.
Because there's been a bunch of retail stocks, GameStop, AMC now, Nokia, Blockbuster, like a lot of these companies that are like, you know, at the near end of their life, pretty much, are getting like this second wind because all these people on Reddit, of course it's Reddit that is like where this is happening. So it's called Wall Street Bets, and it's a subreddit where people get together and then they go and invest in these companies that are, you know, at the brink of the, you know, the end.
Yeah.
In order to sort of, because let me back up a little bit. I think I'm getting ahead. So it's called
confusing.
Short selling.
Yes.
Is what is actually happening right now. So GameStop was subject of short selling, which is when professional investors borrow shares of stock to sell and then they buy them back later so that they can return them, which lets them pocket the profit if that stock price goes back down.
Yes.
Down.
Exactly.
So they're betting that the company will fail. So rather than that playing out as it normally does, everybody from Wall Street Bets is like, let's go buy shares of GameStop. And that surge causes them to shit their pants, basically.
And it wasn't just them, Wall Street Bets and the Reddits, you know, it was also celebrities.
Yes. Yeah.
David Dobrik, Mia Khalifa, Elon Musk, telling people to go buy these certain stocks as a group, which drives the value up a ton.
Right. And
so then they have to like buy them
pay
back.
even more to get the shares
owners.
back.
Yeah.
So it becomes this, it's called short selling, I guess. And
it's really interesting.
Well, it creates a short squeeze. Yeah. There's a squeeze in there too.
So who knows what exactly will happen with this in the next few days. This can go one of two ways because this can be very risky and very rewarding as well if this goes well. But who knows? I mean, people are kind of riding it out right now. That's what we're seeing. But I don't know what's going to happen over the next couple of days. A lot of people say this is going to stop pretty quickly. Some people say it'll last more like 3 days to a week. But I think by the time this episode goes up that things may have normalized a little more, but I don't know anything about this fucking stock market. So honestly, we are just completely shooting in the dark here. I really don't understand it. But I think it's so interesting that all these amateurs, just people, are getting together on Reddit and taking the power like that. Like I had no idea you could even do something like this. It's just been interesting learning about it the last couple of days.
I didn't know there was like a whole community of like investors that are like working together and giving each other advice and stuff. So this event, if anything, has opened my eyes to this whole world of Wall Street Bets. Like there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. And it's interesting that it's mostly younger people that are doing this, mostly millennials. And a lot of it's being done, like we said, on Reddit, but also through Robinhood, which is fairly new.
Yes, it is fairly new.
And kind of disrupting the space.
Yeah, well, their whole thing is giving people that may not normally have thought that they could invest an opportunity to invest. And
simplifying.
More people involved with the stock market is good. The more of us that get on there and start buying and trading stocks, the better it's going to be. For the masses.
Yes, the more control's in the hands of the people.
Right. The hedge fund managers, I mean, the amount of money and just control and really power they have is kind of absurd. And obviously we need to balance the playing field a little bit.
Yeah, squeeze the rich.
So squeeze them. Yep. Squeeze them if we can. I mean, just look at the people that had GameStop stock like 6 months ago.
They're sitting pretty right now.
I literally thought I was like, GameStop is gone. Like you don't even need GameStop anymore. So it's not like
obsolete.
It is.
Blockbuster as well. Nokia. Like how often you hear that brand?
Basically like big box stores are becoming extinct because everything's being bought on Amazon and other online retailers. So, and obviously there's a pandemic, so people aren't going into GameStops. I mean, most people don't go to buy like video games online at GameStop.com. I mean, obviously
because a lot of people are just downloading them.
There's all these other ways to get the games now, and any sort of hardware can be purchased on Amazon, Walmart, any of these other retailers. So they're like basically on the verge of it being extinct. And
the CEO must be very happy. Yeah. He must have been like, what the fuck is going on?
to like wake up one day and see your stock go like 7,000% through the roof. Like you're like,
just
what
unexplained because people organize.
Power of the internet, man.
I know, it's
if
really
this is
cool.
showing us anything, it's like the power of the internet is real, and you know, mass amounts of people coming together for a cause can really make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, they like saved AMC. They're happy right now.
Yeah.
They were real, like, who knows if they were for sure going to make it through after everything. And I mean, as of today, they're pretty good, but I'm just like, I'm afraid to say anything because everything's changing so fast. Second. What if it all tanks by the time this episode goes live? It could. I have no idea how all this works. I've never seen a short squeeze play out.
No, I know. It's
pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really the first time that like the Wall Street has been kind of in this viral news cycle too. Yeah. Like when was the last time that we were all talking about Wall Street? Like, let's be real.
I know. And it's very popular among our age group too.
Yeah.
More so than ever.
Right.
So I feel like we feel like now we have some power and we can actually make a difference and get our hands in it more.
So much so that they literally shut it down.
Yeah. So that's the latest.
They shut down all of the different, you know, places that you can trade and buy stock through, all of the, I guess you call them firms or something.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. All the, who cares?
Wherever you buy them.
But like Robinhood, for example, even shut down the ability to buy GameStop, trade, sell.
Yeah, they did.
Do anything with it.
Which
other
who knows
than close
if that was
out your
really
position.
Robinhood shutting that down. It could have been kind of like their hands were forced. But I mean, I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's obviously other powers that be that are like, whoa, we can't let this happen. So we got to shut it down for a while. I guess I just got an update from Robinhood. I thought was kind of interesting because a lot of people are pissed at Robinhood because they thought you guys are supposed to stand for like, you know, it's Robinhood taking from the rich to give to the poor. Like
exactly.
That's what that means. So you guys are also falling in line with all the other like TD Ameritrade, all of the other ones that, you know, brokerages out there that you can use all shut it down. And it's still shut down right now, I believe.
So what did they say as of today, which is Thursday, January 28th at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Times?
Robinhood just sent me a personal message saying, "Hi, Josh. It's been a tough day. And we're grateful to you for being a Robinhood customer. In light of the extraordinary market conditions this week, we temporarily limited buying for certain securities this morning." So basically those stocks. "Starting tomorrow, we plan to allow limited buys of these securities. We'll continue to monitor the situation and make adjustments as needed. This was a temporary decision made to best continue serving you and was not an easy one to make. And it's led to frustration, confusion, and we wanted to provide some clarity because people are fucking pissed. Like, I'm deleting that shit." And everybody was hopping on there because like, you know, the word is go buy AMC, go buy Nokia, go buy these companies because they might go 7,000% like GameStop. Wow. That you can get a big return on your small investment in this scenario. So everybody's jumping on board and then they shut it all down to stop that because they knew that people were going to hop on there. So Robinhood's been getting a lot of shit because they fell in line with everybody else. This is their apology. And this is this is probably true too, what's actually going on. So as a brokerage firm, we have many financial requirements, including SEC net capital obligations and clearinghouse deposits. And some of these requirements fluctuate based on volatility in the markets and can be substantial in the current environment. So these requirements exist to protect you as the investors in the markets, and we take our responsibilities to comply with them seriously, including through the measures we have taken today. So basically, be like, this was so hard to make. We're so sorry that we had to do this, but we just had to fall in line and do what we're supposed to do.
That's so interesting. And I wonder how much the comment section is going to vary in opinion on this. How many people will think it's a good thing? How many people will be against Robinhood? Where are people going to fall? I'm curious. I really wish I could talk to my dad about this, which I can. I can call him luckily tonight. But right now, you know,
right.
He's been in the stock market for a long time working in it. And he's got a lot of thoughts on Robinhood and all of this new stuff going on. Like, it's really freaking out people that have been in the industry for a long time.
It's disrupting the game.
It is kind of,
Well, exactly. This is interesting. The way that they ended this was this past year in particular has shown us that the financial markets are for everyone, not just institutional investors and hedge funds. We've seen a new generation enter the market, and they're sparking conversations about what it means to be an investor. And then in bold, it says, "We stand in support of you, our customers. Democratizing finance for all means, giving more people access, not less." That's like their whole motto.
Right. But people feel like that what they've done, though their actions don't actually align with that.
Yeah, and I mean,
Debatable.
they say they're opening it tomorrow, so January 29th. So we'll see. We'll see. Because a ton of people went and tried to buy these stocks and they couldn't. They got their orders canceled. And people are like, I'm quitting Robinhood. I'm shutting it down, deleting it. People are dropping them as a sponsor and stuff. Like, really, really piss people off. Because it's like, you're Robinhood. But with all that being said, that's where we will end the Wall Street conversation, because
we really don't know what we're talking about anyway.
hopefully that made some sort of sense. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, it's volatile times in the stock market. So
volatile times in general.
Yeah, it is. It's been getting crazy. But today we're going to be opening our minds very wide and talking about
Very wide.
very wide. No.
What the fuck?
When you fall down the time travel rabbit hole, it's very difficult to get yourself back out of it.
It is. I agree with that.
Because time is another dimension for us. It creates a whole nother dynamic to our lives that I think we take for granted a lot of times.
Time is another dimension. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's part of the constructs of what makes our reality real. So it'd be a dimension.
Time is... Okay, I'm already lost. We're 2 seconds in and I'm lost.
Well, that's where it's going to be for the entirety of the rest of the episode. So hopefully you'll be sticking around for that. And we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Let's face it, taking trips to the post office is not how you probably want to spend your time, right? I'd rather be at home watching your favorite show, working out at the gym, or just doing anything else besides standing in line in order to mail or ship something. That's why I recommend mailing and shipping online at stamps.com. Stamps.com allows you to mail and ship anytime, anywhere, right from your computer, from the safety and comfort of your home or office. You can send letters, you can ship packages, and pay a lot less with their discounted rates from USPS, UPS, and more. Stamps.com has come in clutch for me many times for my own business, whether it's getting stamps in order to mail a letter to the IRS or something, or there's a package that I need to send via UPS. It makes it so easy that I can get both of those in one place and print it out right from my computer. And once I've got the postage, I can then just go online to USPS or UPS, schedule that pickup, and sit back and watch my mail go to where it needs to go. It's that easy. Plus, the biggest thing is always the hours of the post office, right? There's always weird hours. They're not open late at night. But with stamps.com, you can print postage 24/7 for any letter, any package, or any class of mail, and anywhere you want to send it, which is really nice. Plus, with stamps.com, you get discounts up to 40% off post office rates and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. It's way, way cheaper than going to a UPS store to ship something. So clearly, stamps.com is a no-brainer. It saves you time and money, and it's no wonder nearly 1 million small businesses already use stamps.com. So stop wasting your time going to the post office and go to stamps.com instead. There's no risk. And with my promo code MileHigher, you'll get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale, plus no long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to stamps.com, and then at the top of the homepage, click that microphone and type in MileHigher. That's stamps.com, promo code MileHigher. With stamps.com, you'll never have to go to the post office again.
So you guys know that I love Third Love bras. They're the only bras that I will wear and the only bras that I've worn for the last couple years. I'm wearing one right now. Third Love is designed for your perfect fit. They use measurements from millions of women to design bras with all-day comfort and support. And they have more than 80 sizes. Every Third Love bra is made with signature memory foam cups, no slip straps, and a scratch-free band. And they go from cup sizes AA to I. And that also includes half cups and bands 30 to 48. If you're not sure about your size, you can take Third Love's online Fit Finder quiz. And when I took that a few years ago, I realized I was wearing the wrong cup size. And once I got the right cup size, it just made it a lot more comfortable to wear bras. Third Love also has a perfect fit promise. They stand behind their product, so if you don't love it, you can exchange it or return it for free. And what we love most about Third Love is they donate all of their gently used return bras to women in need, supporting charities in their local San Francisco Bay Area and across the United States. And so far, Third Love has donated over $40 million worth of bras. That is a lot. Third Love knows that there's a perfect bra out there for everyone. So right now they are offering our listeners 20% off your first order. Just go to thirdlove.com/milehigher now to find your perfect fitting bra and get 20% off your first purchase. That's thirdlove.com/milehigher for 20% off today.
Before we can talk about time travel, I think it's important to kind of talk about time for a second, because I think we take time for granted, and
we do.
That's
so
right?
true.
Like, how many of us sit around and we think about the time that is passing in our lives, like, and actually think down to the hours, the minutes, the seconds?
I feel like we try to avoid that thought for the most part because it's a little scary to think about it.
It
Time
is.
going by that you can't get back. Janelle and I just did an episode on the sesh just about aging and how it feels like time is going faster as we get older.
Yeah, isn't it? And that's why literally we're time travelers, just in the normal sense, like,
Yeah,
because we're
kind of.
traversing time, and we're having these experiences with time where a lot of the time we're like, where did that time go? Or that went by so fast, or the years just seem to speed up as you get older. And why
I think
is
they really
that?
do.
Yeah, I think you do, probably. And just, we know that the Earth is spinning slightly faster as well. So there's factors that all play into this three-dimensional world that have an effect on time. And, to many people would say time is an illusion, as the great Albert Einstein once said, that, time is an illusion as opposed to time being real, which when you even try to wrap your head around those two facts, it's like, where does that even go? You can't even really comprehend. Like, it's not like time is this tangible thing you can grab out of the sky and nail down and be like, this is time.
Right.
It's really just up to the interpreter, like how we perceive it. And that was Einstein's theory, is that it's totally relative to how fast you're going is how fast time goes. And it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
Like, the faster you go, the slower time gets. And, like, once you are able to bend space, which space makes up this three-dimensional world, and then you add time on top of that, the faster you go, the more you can manipulate that space. So that concept could be kind of confusing to some to really wrap your head around. So think of it as like a traveler going somewhere to a certain place in time in the world. And in order to get there, if you had a map, you would need coordinates to get there. So think of the location being a certain point in time, and we need these coordinates in order to get there. But in order to get to that place in time, we have to be moving in a direction. We don't just stand still, right? We have to move forward.
And you're not talking about actual time travelers here. You're talking about just us as everyday people. If I want to go somewhere, I want to meet someone at Starbucks at 3:00 at a certain address, certain location.
Right. This is kind of an analogy for Einstein's description of, his theory of relativity, and exactly how time is an illusion. Is that, because I think we get so caught up on the word illusion, we're like, what illusion? It's not really there, or
is it there to trick us, or
the illusion is there because it's just up to the perceiver, because everybody's going to interpret it differently. Just
is it the same thing as saying time is a human construct in a way that it's not really there?
Right.
It's something that
it is a human construct. Yeah.
Right.
We apply it to our lives because that's how we, know what day it is.
Make
that's
sense
how we,
of it all.
That's how we know where we're at in this timeline. Because without any of those coordinates, then it's just
What
the past,
fuck
the
is going
present, and the
on?
future
Yeah.
could all be one thing. We have no way to distinguish, what happened yesterday wasn't the future or it was the past, right? Because with our timeline, we're moving forward in it. So time is propelling us forward.
As far as we know.
As far as we know, yeah. Ain't that the truth? But we have these coordinates. So like, as humans, we have coordinates to go to different places, and yet time is propelling us. As you're moving towards those coordinates, you're moving with time. It takes time to get somewhere. So time is that directional force that's pushing you there. That's why Einstein called it the fourth dimension, is time, because it is affecting where you go in the 3D world.
That's hard to wrap your mind around. I'm like kind of there understanding that. It's still a little confusing though.
Well, if you think about it, for a long time, years and years and years, we didn't even know that time had any like in between space. We didn't know that it could change, it could bend. We had no clue for a long time. Going back to the 1700s when Isaac Newton was around, he presented time as being like shooting an arrow, and it's just always going forward, and it's not manipulating, the amount of time that is passing as that arrow's flying through there. So like 1 second on Earth would be 1 second on Mars, would be 1 second on Jupiter. It's all the same. Time is just this linear. It's going in one direction, and everything is the same as far
Works
as
the same way everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all, linear. It's always going exponentially in one direction
Forward.
versus with Einstein's theory, what he presented was that time is like a river where it bends and goes around, astrological bodies, like stars and things like that. But eventually that river can actually fork off and create new rivers. And that's like creating new timelines, essentially. Because in order to manipulate time and time travel, you ultimately need to have multiple timelines in order to do that. You're not going back up the same river at that point.
No.
You're forking off of the river of time.
Making a new timeline.
Right.
Right.
So,
Which kind of gives a lot of people blow off things like the Mandela effect. But when you think about, even Einstein presented this.
Yeah.
It's a very real possibility that there are multiple
the equations
multiple
allow
versions
for
of
it.
you.
Physicists say that Einstein's equations still hold up today and 100% allow for time travel to be possible, because his equations have helped us understand the laws of physics, help us understand just the natural laws of the universe. Like we're starting to figure out how things work at a very, very small scale. And obviously before this, we didn't have that much information that we were going off of. We were going off of what, other cultures, explained time was, that it was the sun coming up, sun going down. It wasn't this, looking at it from a, astronomical perspective or astrological perspective, where you're looking at how time and space interact and how
that's when it really starts to get
it does
trippy.
So like, just like with a river, you can have a river flowing and it's going all different directions. And eventually there's going to be spots where there's going to be, gaping holes in that river, or there's going to be whirlpools in that river where that symbolizes time folding in on itself, and it can do all kinds of things. We realize that time can do pretty much anything it wants to, but can we actually time travel as humans to the past? Can we time travel into the future? And that's the bigger question here. We know that you can time travel. We know that if you go to the speed of light,
possible.
No, we know that if you're able to go the speed of light,
but
that
can
time
humans
is
go
manipulated.
the speed of light?
No. As far as we know, we have no capabilities of doing that, because we would die from the forces
like melts
of going 186,000 miles a second.
Your eyeballs would just fall out, just puddle.
Exactly. You would puddle and it would just be reduced to atoms, essentially. Like you'd be nothing.
The whole DeLorean thing just does not check out.
Unfortunately, it doesn't scientifically, but another great way to understand like how time is affected by gravity is like, not only, so one method is if you can go the speed of light, you're able to time travel. For example, if you're on a train and the train could go 99% the speed of light, if you're on that train for a year, 223 years would have passed back at the station.
That is, that's what's wild to me, is how differently time people can experience, or humans can experience time, depending on where you are, just even on our own planet. Like, of course, everyone knows that you'd experience time differently on other planets. And most people have seen movies where that concept is kind of played out. But the idea that even here on Earth.
Right. Theoretically, yeah.
Yes. No, but it actually is. Like, have you ever heard about how if you were to, I can't remember who I heard talking about this, but it's really an interesting concept. If you were to set your watch the same day that you were born, and your mom put on a watch too and had it, and the second your life started, you both had these exact same watches on. Years down the road, there would be a very small amount, maybe not even a full
Hundreds
second.
of a second, yeah.
Right.
Difference.
But they will be different because you experience, like, you're not always together experiencing everything at the same elevation.
Right. There's a lot of factors that play
there's
into
tons
it.
of factors that can literally make time go faster just here on Earth.
Yeah.
Like, time is such a weird concept to even try to understand.
It really is.
For me, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, whoa.
No, I agree. It's hard to wrap your head around, because it isn't.
We see it as
this object.
one way for so long. It's this measurable thing. It's the
Right.
same everywhere. It's time.
So if we could
Time is
build
time.
exactly,
But
so
it's not. It's not.
no, it's not. So if we could build a device or a train, like I said in this analogy, that could go the speed of light, you would be able to. The time would slow down for everybody back at the station because you would be moving so quickly that time itself would literally slow, and it would only feel like a year on the train, but everybody else would be experiencing 223 years.
So this plays out in our favorite movie, Interstellar, when they go to that planet where time moves way faster.
Right. And the reason for that's great, because that leads me to my next point, is that the other way that time can be manipulated is by a huge body or object that has so much gravity that it actually affects the space around it. And that's actually what in this particular scene you're talking about. The reason that time slows down for everybody back on, or speeds up for everybody back on the ship, and those that go down, it's different, is because the gravity is affected by this planet is affected by this black hole that it's near. So that black hole is actually changing
well,
the
a lot
time
of people
this
haven't
planet.
seen the movie, so slow down. But
Okay.
in the movie, some crew members stay on the spaceship.
Right.
Some of them go down onto the planet. And every 30 minutes they're on the planet, it's like 20. I can't remember the exact numbers, but
10 years or something back. It's a lot of time. Yeah.
they have kind of an accident. So it takes them some time on the planet. And when they get back on the spaceship, the other crew members are like really old, and it's been 20 years or 30 years or something.
And that's because of this black hole that this planet that they went to visit was near, that it was actually distorting time.
Okay, that's interesting. I never understood that in the movie.
So
is that why there was also like the huge wave in the movie too?
Right, because the gravity is different there.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's able
So
to.
time and gravity work
Yes,
in tandem.
they do. It's all very much married together. I mean, gravity especially is another one of those mysterious things that we don't fully understand, and how it actually affects everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So the two ways that you could essentially time travel is if you were able to harness enough energy and build something that humans could live through. How they would do that, I have no idea. But if they could travel the speed of light, they would be able to at least go into the future. They'd be able to, the future can, where they started from. That's what's so weird about it, is like time may not seem like it passes for them, the people traveling at the speed of light, but it is, because everybody they just left is going to be aging way faster. It's the time's going to just fly by.
Right.
So that's like the whole trippy thing about it, is like with time traveling, like it may not seem like a lot of time is passing for you, even though you are, but everybody that you just left behind that's not in the time machine or craft would be just
Feel it long.
be
Feel
years
it long.
yeah,
Wow.
it'd be years and years and years going by. So yeah, I mean, in order to actually create this machine, though, we would need a source of energy that would have to be comparable to like a star, because even an atomic bomb doesn't have enough energy to get us to go the speed of light.
Wow.
When you think about that, you're like, damn, that's a lot of energy. Because like the atomic bomb has tons and tons and tons of energy behind it.
So does that mean that maybe humans are not meant to time travel?
Either that, or we just haven't technologically advanced far enough that we know how to actually harness the energy required to time travel. So the other scenario, though, is CERN, right? There's a lot of conspiracies around CERN, which is like a research facility over in Switzerland, underground. It's a very, very cool place. But they have basically called a hadron collider, and they're doing some really crazy experiments there where they're experimenting with these types of scenarios and trying to see how much energy they can actually produce.
Running it around that track they have.
Yeah, there's so many things that they can do, but they're producing mass amounts of energy that is there's nowhere else in the world that compares to the amount of energy they're generating underground at CERN.
That's wild.
And so we are trying to get there, but we're definitely not anywhere near a point where we could harness enough energy and have a human survive that ride in order to time travel scientifically, right? There's just no way for it to happen.
Well, maybe. I mean, I know we're going to have some of our audience that definitely believes that time travelers exist, and people have already been time traveling. Do you think it's possible?
Yeah, it's absolutely possible. I mean, what do we know?
Right.
I mean, what do we know what's been discovered in these black projects?
We only have what CERN actually tells us, you know?
It's true. We only know what physicists know and what they tell us. And
right.
some of the top scientists in the world don't have access to this technology. So maybe there is some top secret program where they have this energy. That'd be absolutely insane, because that would be very, very unstable and very dangerous for the rest of the planet if something were to go wrong and they had the energy of a star.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about like vaporizing everybody. It's like a Death Star situation pretty much at that point.
That's
how much energy you need.
Some humans might have access to that.
I highly doubt it, because I think we would know by now. There'd been something that would have, I mean, unless.
Well, why would they want anyone to know if they had that?
That's true. And it could be buried beneath the earth miles down for all we know.
True.
So I don't know. But obviously there's two types of time travel. There's traveling into the future, which is definitely possible. I think most physicists would say time traveling into the future is possible, because Einstein showed us the way, and he showed us the way 100 years ago through his equations and stuff. He literally, I don't even understand how this individual was able to come up with this shit. Like, how do you even get your mind wrapped around this? Like, how high do you have to be to like start thinking this deep about space and time?
He probably was not high. But do you think, like, on a real note, do you think that some people have like almost a gift?
Yeah.
Like people like Einstein are connected to something.
Yeah. Whether it's knowledge from a past life that they have, whether it's tapping into some unknown source of knowledge, that's where the Akashic records come in. A lot of people believe there's like a spiritual library, I guess you could say, that people are able to tap into if their consciousness is high enough, that they're able to extract this information about the universe. I mean, Nikola Tesla is another one of them.
Right.
A lot of people say Elon Musk. Some people even say that Elon Musk is the reincarnated version of Albert Einstein, is the incarnation of Albert Einstein. Yeah. There's actually a decent amount of people out there that believe that.
I don't know what to think about that.
I don't think so personally, but I guess anything's possible, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But through Einstein's equations, we're able to figure out that if either we're able to somehow hang out near a black hole or a star or something like that, that would be one way to time travel if we're able to manipulate that, or it would be trying to go the speed of light. But the bigger question, I think, is more controversial, is can we time travel to the past? Because I think this is something all of us have thought about at one point in our lives. Like, man, I wish I could just go back to this one moment, or maybe I'd go back and change something about my past, and that would hopefully affect my future. And there's so many movies that are kind of based around this concept of, you know, I'll go back on my same timeline. I go back and see the same Josh that I was, the real Josh, and then I'm going to make a different decision. And therefore it's going to have this butterfly effect on the rest of my life, and my life will turn out different, turn out better. I mean, there's endless movies that kind of go off that premise.
Oh yeah, totally.
Time Traveler's Wife. They kind of do that, don't they? And it's the same timeline, or is it kind of a different one?
Actually, I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I don't really remember. It was like high school when I saw that. But are there things that you would go back and change for real? Like, if you had the opportunity, is there anything you'd want to go back and change? I wouldn't want to fuck with my life personally.
See, that's the thing, is
that's weird. I mean, we aren't supposed to do that.
I mean, I believe everything you do is just a part of your life's journey. And that's like, you have to go through certain things in order to get to where you are today and get to a better place. So I don't know if I'd want to go back and change anything about my past, even though we all sit around and are like, oh, you know, this one time in my life, this one decision I make, like I would have made a different decision or something. But would you actually, if you could?
I wouldn't.
Or would you just let it play out?
I think, things are meant to happen, and you're supposed to experience things. And that's why I think we're not really meant to time travel. That's my personal belief. So we're not meant to kind of fuck with this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, ruins the human experience.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean,
but that's just my personal take.
At this level of evolution, I could see that being a valid thought. But think about a higher version of human beings, a higher level of consciousness, a more technologically advanced. We know more knowledge.
Maybe we're not supposed to do that right now, is what I'm saying.
Oh, that's okay. True. Okay, I gotcha. But one of the main theories that's out there regarding time traveling to the past is that perhaps we might be able to utilize wormholes. And Albert Einstein actually was the one who theorized the possibility of wormholes back in 1935 is when he thought of wormholes. Can you imagine that meeting? Albert Einstein's like,
so ahead of
all
his
right, everybody
time.
sit down. I just
People
kind
must
of
have
realized
been like,
something.
What?
There is a way in order to go through a wormhole. There's a mouth, there's a throat.
They're like, Albert,
And
you've
you
been
come out the
smoking
other
too much,
side.
dude.
Seriously.
That makes no sense. But it does.
They're like, yo, Big Al, settle down over there.
Well, so Einstein's theories and the laws of physics allows for the possibility of wormholes, because if you believe that whole river scenario, you can have a whirlpool. You can, literally fold time onto itself. And, there's that, famous, I think it's actually in Interstellar. They show it. One of the scientists on there does it where he takes a piece of paper.
Oh yeah.
You bend time and you put the pencil through it and you create a tunnel.
Right.
And you essentially bend space in order to go through this tunnel and come out the other side in a different point in space and time. And the law of physics absolutely allows for this. So many people believe that wormholes are out there. And there's even been some recent research done on it that these scientists are saying that there's a very real possibility that we could basically manipulate the openings of these wormholes and make them stable enough to go through. Because that's the thing. We've never been through a wormhole, so we have no idea what would happen if you sent anything through it. Like, what happens when you go through? Does it go through to the other side? Does it pop out at some point? We have no idea.
No.
For all we know, you could go into a wormhole and never be seen again. It's just instantly.
Disappear.
Exactly.
Yeah,
do you go into another dimension? Like,
and who wants to be the one to test that shit?
Yeah, exactly.
No
Matthew
one's gonna
McConaughey.
volunteer. Yeah, Matthew, send him in.
Can we get him on the show? Let's ask him.
Leave it to Cooper.
That'd be great.
But obviously, the problem with time traveling via wormholes would be we just have no idea if anything could survive it, and that's the big question. Is we would need to test that. But scientists have looked at this, and they do believe that there are tools out there that could help us basically manipulate the black or the wormhole in order to make it stable and large enough that a spacecraft could go through it. So in theory, if the theory is correct, then this
in theory, if the theory is
this
correct.
is space tunnels that are out there that will transport you to another place in time.
But how do we test that?
We'd have to we'd have to locate one and then send something through it and be able to record the data from it.
They'd probably do it like an animal first, huh?
Or just
Something
even
like
like
that.
maybe
Or just an
a chimp
object.
or something. No, but they would send like a probe or something.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
You can send like a probe
God,
in there.
imagine that footage. That'd be so exciting.
Footage. I don't even know if a camera would even work in that type of
right. Yeah.
force and gravity.
Probably not.
We have no idea. We just know that they could absolutely exist. But until we go through one, we'll have no idea for sure. So the other thing that's really interesting about time traveling is all the paradoxes that come along with it, especially this grandfather paradox where a time traveler is able to go back and kill their ancestor.
Right. That's always the classic
Or grandfather.
scenario.
If you went back, killed your grandfather, would you exist? And so there's two ways to approach this paradox. One is that maybe just perhaps if you were to go back on your same timeline, try to kill your grandfather in order to stop you from ever being born, when you went to pull the trigger, something would stop you from pulling the trigger. And that could be some type of law of physics we haven't discovered yet that would prevent you from messing with your timeline like that. Or it's just some unseen force, like maybe God, we could just call it God, whatever it is, what doesn't allow that, whatever the creator is, does not allow you to manipulate your own timeline. You couldn't go back and kill your grandfather in the same timeline so it would prevent you from not existing at all.
Right. Sorry. My brain had to catch up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. That's so weird to think about though.
Because then what would happen?
Right.
You go back, you kill your grandfather, then you technically would have never existed. So,
but are you creating a new timeline? Do you still exist on the other timeline?
Well, that's the thing is most people believe that, just like the river analogy, that it forks if you go back. You go back, you're actually going back on another timeline. You're not going back on the same one.
Right.
So go ahead.
This is a random thought, but then what if you're like messing with other people's timelines? Because if you go and kill your grandpa, then your parents aren't born. Therefore, you're messing with it's physically impossible to go back in time and do something without it impacting only you. It will impact like other people. It's inevitable. Like we're all connected somehow. So like how can it be that you can go back and then you're fucking up with other people's lives that have nothing to do with you? Like, is that even physically possible?
Yeah, that's the debate is, could you, because imagine how much damage a time traveler could do if they had that ability to do so.
Right.
And a lot of people don't believe that's true because 100% somebody would have already done that. If
and everything would be all fucked up.
Everything would be fucked up and it would be this chaotic mess we'd be in.
That's how I feel too. And we aren't supposed to do this. There are universal laws protecting us because this wouldn't make sense. But yeah, I guess if you did go and fuck with a bunch of other people's timelines, essentially you would be making a completely new timeline.
Where everybody that you encounter is genetically the same.
Right.
They're virtually indifferent from your timeline. It's just you've entered some parallel universe that runs alongside your original timeline that you're now affecting.
So in that theory, it's not even really time traveling. It's like universe hopping.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like jumping around, creating a new, like almost starting a new frontier versus moving around on the same thing.
Right.
Which really fucks with our idea of time because we have this idea that we're on this one. I mean, just to truly wrap your mind around the fact that there probably are multiple versions of you doing the exact same thing or like slightly different, or there could be another Kendall and Josh sitting in another podcast studio that are doing this episode slightly different or have different beliefs or
even
whatever.
The same.
Yeah, or exactly the same, just like
copies of us.
With slight differences, like Mandela effect size differences.
Or even smaller than that even. I mean, it could be
thousands of you.
Yeah.
And then if you throw time travel into it and all these new timelines just starting up, like, new parts of a river, new offshoots of a river. That's like a really good way to look at it. Time as as
river,
water.
Flowing river.
Movable. Yeah. That's just some weird shit. It's just my brain starts to get a little, like, it almost hurts to think about this.
Because I think once you start, like Janelle was saying, like, once you start thinking about your original timeline and going back and altering it, the ripple effect that your changes have spread beyond yourself and think about, even if you had a few people doing that, how much of a ripple effect that would create. I mean, it would be, things would get very complicated very quickly and it would just become this chaotic mess. So is there a natural law out there that prevents that from happening? Because if that were the case, the universe would just be utter chaos, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you have these conscious beings, I mean, we're not the smartest things. We're, you throw us into a scenario like that, we're going to do weird, freaky stuff and it's going to get
someone
really
will take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And right. Mm-hmm.
But maybe in other corners of the universe, there are intelligent beings that are able to make sense of this whole situation and they use it to their advantage. And they are able to hop between universes for whatever reason in order to, communicate with other versions of themselves. I mean, the limitations just completely come off at that point, and to have access to infinite versions of yourself that you can then go and talk to and affect in other timelines is interesting, which also would mean that there would be other versions of you affecting your original timeline as well.
I was going to say, I just wanted to bring that up. Do you believe that when you get a gut feeling that it is actually your future self trying to warn you about something? Or
Absolutely.
that when weird things happen?
Or maybe that's what your intuition is.
Yeah. Like in a sense, it's time, not actual time travel, but intuition that we are almost able to affect different, like ourselves at different ages.
Yeah. Like you're able to.
Does that make any sense?
Well, yeah. And I mean, to drill even deeper, like perhaps our conscious self in this body, in this timeline is connected to all these parallel ones and we just don't even know it. We share one mind. Like our mind is connected to multiple versions of ourselves. So perhaps we're able to send and transmit information in order to help each other, because there's going to be versions of us on different timelines than this one that could be future self. It could be past. I mean, But it's very possible that
Damn.
future self is actually giving us those feelings of intuition, those, all of these things that we're always talking about. It's our higher self, and, thinking it's our soul. That's one way to look at it, but perhaps it's not the soul at all. Maybe it's just this collective mind that we're all connected to of ourself. And it's just replicated infinitely throughout infinite numbers of universes. And they're all tied together. So we're all linked, and we can.
And that's why we share memories with, and that, like, we experience things like the Mandela effect, because we're sharing memories with different versions of ourselves.
It would make sense for dreams, how you would be like, so many of my dreams are just slightly alternate timelines.
Yeah.
Where it's still me, just slightly different. Like if things had turned out differently or I'd made a different decision here, that's potentially what could have happened. At least for me, that's how a lot of my dreams are, is I feel like it is some sort of alternate universe I've entered. Because it is still me. I still feel like myself. I'm still familiar with a lot of the people and things around me, but it's just a different scenario plays out. So it makes me wonder if, when this mind is asleep, that we're still experiencing the subconsciousness of all of our other minds across all of our other timelines and universes.
That's really interesting to think about. And if that's the case, do we ever get true rest?
No.
God.
Rest is just a term that we coined it. But you're really always at rest. I mean, you're always processing and experiencing.
You mean you're never at rest?
Well, it could be both.
You could be both, is what I'm saying.
Oh.
Yeah, theoretically it could be
it's like
both.
Interchangeable.
Yeah, there's no difference between the two.
Ew, I don't like that.
It's pretty clear that there's a lot of ways to interpret time travel, and there's not one correct way to really, try to wrap your head around. It's good to theorize about all the different ways that time travel could work, and maybe, time travel in one sense actually just means universe hopping. Because, if we time travel in this timeline, it seems like the only likely situation that would play out is going into the future. It seems much more plausible that at some point in our humans' history, we're going to get to the point where we're technologically advanced, that we're going to be able to go the speed of light some way. I mean, Star Wars, so many sci-fi movies literally depict humans going the speed of light, going hyperspace, and going that fast in order to traverse long distances. In order to even become an interstellar civilization, we're going to have to be able to go the speed of light. I mean, there's no other way to get around the universe other than being able to travel that quickly, and quickly enough where time becomes distorted and you could actually survive a space flight, to another part in the galaxy or the universe. So on top of going the speed of light, or utilizing some type of large mass that distorts, that has huge gravitational pull that can distort space and time in order to time travel, there's a couple other alternate theories that are kind of interesting. So this theory is called the infinite cylinder theory. And this was proposed by astronomer Frank Tipler. And basically, this is known as the Tipler cylinder, where one would take matter that is 10 times the sun's mass, then roll it into a very long but very dense cylinder. And after spinning this up a few billion revolutions per minute, a spaceship nearby theoretically following a very precise spiral. So in order to get into the cylinder, you would need to start spiraling, which is really interesting because I saw some of this kind of stuff in Interstellar. They really depicted this stuff very well. He had to spin in order to latch onto the ship. Same kind of idea. But you could basically fly your spacecraft into the cylinder and enter a closed time-like curve.
Okay.
But this is theoretical because you would need, there wouldn't be able to be a cylinder long enough in order to actually make this happen. So it's just kind of a theory that is an idea that was put forward that people are like, oh, okay, it's possible, but probably not going to happen, not likely. Another theory that's out there is cosmic strings theory. And this theory is based on narrow tubes of energy that are stretched across the entire length of the ever-expanding universe. And these thin regions left over from the early cosmos are predicted to contain huge amounts of mass and therefore could warp the space-time around them. And obviously right now we have no way to test this theory, but just the fact that they're able to warp space-time gives us the possibility that we could use them in order to time travel in theory. That's pretty much what the cosmic strings theory is. Now, this last one is especially interesting because this kind of falls back to this idea that if time's not an illusion, then time must be real. And this theory is called the block universe theory. And according to this theory, the universe is a giant block of all the things that ever happen at any time and at any place. Looking at it from this perspective, the past, the present, and the future all exist and are equally real. This block has 4 dimensions, 3 spatial dimensions, length, width, height, plus a 4th dimension of time, kind of like what we were talking about before. At one end of this cube is the Big Bang, and then at the other end of that timeline, or of this cube, is the last moment of the universe. So this cube, in theory, represents all of the events to ever happen, including your birth and death, everything that's ever happened in space-time, all in one location. And they've already happened. They're already there. So it's all real at one time.
Okay. So it's like, and it's just all playing out.
Right. There's no perception here because it's already been done. There's only one way to view it, I guess you could say, because it's already happened. It's already contained within this cube.
So that kind of goes along with the belief of destiny and like predetermination and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
That's one way to connect it would be everything that we experience in life has already happened. We're just kind of following the plan that was put forward for us, and we're just kind of going along according to our story.
Weird.
And our death is already out there. It's already happened. I
always think about that. Do you think about that? I think everyone does,
that brings
right?
up the whole discussion of free will. Like, do you have free will, or do you have no control and everything's literally preset and you're just putting the puzzle pieces together until you get to death?
Or is it like kind of a mix where there's like some things that are predetermined, like major things, and then we kind of have more free will like throughout the day along the way? That's kind of how I've always seen it in my own personal head.
The way that I look at this is like, this is basically like the simulation theory. That everything that's ever happened, including every decision we make every day, has already happened. It's already the past. And the future is already known.
That's so weird.
So
and going back to the idea of knowing if your death's already predetermined.
Yeah.
Like, that's just really hard for me to think about. Like, what? That could have... Like, do you have a date with destiny? It brings me back to like Final Destination. Like, you can't escape your death.
Yeah,
you have this like determined thing. And is it already like determined when you're born? That I don't know.
If time is real, then yeah, that would mean that everything has already been written. Everything's already happened. You're just experiencing one point in that timeline of that cube. You're somewhere along the line of that timeline and you're just experiencing it. Maybe you just over and over again experience the same timeline.
This whole concept is very hard for people with anxiety because we like to feel like we have control of our lives. And thinking about this makes you realize like you don't have that much control. But in the other sense, it makes you realize like maybe I shouldn't stress out so much about the small stuff because maybe it is all predetermined. It's all going to play out and like just go along really for the ride.
At the end of the day. So
right.
like obsessing over it is only going to like hurt you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like it is what it is. What's going to happen is what's going to happen. Which
if you look at it that way,
sometimes like that can make my anxiety worse because then I'm like, oh my God, I don't have control. What the fuck's going to happen? Is sometimes it makes it better because I'm like, whatever. Like I'm literally just on this fucking rock flying around through space on a ride. So
potentially in a cube.
Might as well enjoy it. Cube. It's like, yeah, there's nothing you can really do. So it's like, you might as well enjoy it and watch it all play out and kind of like,
I mean, if that doesn't make you live in the moment,
give into it instead of like fight it, just like kind of like, it's like almost like a lazy river. Like, can you go with can you go with the flow of the river, or are you like constantly trying to like swim upstream?
Well, it's so hard for us as humans, especially when we start to have these thoughts of like, is everything predetermined? Do I even have free will? Like, could I change my path of what I'm supposed to do today? Or is it all written out for me, you know?
Right.
And then you try to like trick it and be like, oh, well, what if I just do something crazy and like just out of the blue? But like, what if that's all predetermined
but that's so
as
hard
well?
To them, because I also believe that like your attitude really does matter, and like what you manifest, like you can manifest good and bad. And so then it's like, well,
that's why I don't know what exactly I believe. It's hard for me to accept that it's all just predetermined. I think personally it's a mix, you know, but
whatever comforts you. Just kidding.
Yeah, right. Whatever helps you sleep at night.
I mean, it does allow room for like a simulation theory to play out where perhaps even this block universe is simulated by some other intelligent being or deity or something else is able to control it.
I hate that.
Have you ever seen
theory.
those pictures where like this like intelligent being is holding the entire like universe or cosmos in their hand?
I feel like everyone has seen like
I
some
love
type
that
of mock-up
picture.
of that. Yeah, I don't like that.
Because, well, I mean, a lot of religious people would say that, we're, on God's plan, we're following God's plan, and like things.
I'm
in
talking
life
more
are
like simulation theory, like
Sure,
it's all
sure.
programmed by some dude. That
Some
freaks
dude.
me out.
Some dude or some intelligent, wise being.
The idea of a god or a divine power is definitely less scary. Like I would trust it, hopefully, if it's that divine to like know what the fuck to do with my life. But
Well,
if
even
it's
if it is a
simulation
simulation, isn't that still divine as fuck? To
Yeah, to
literally
create this?
That's still
unless
so
it's
divine.
just one dude in one world making a computer simulation on his lunch break, and there's a million other dudes making their own simulations, is really not that divine.
Well,
it's just
then there could
average.
be like a million divine beings making their own universes. So like,
How divine are they then if there's a million of them? They're just some dude on their lunch break.
But that could be the case for any. I mean, that would be the same for if we're universe hoppers and there are parallel universes. Would that make it less divine? If there's infinite number of us out there, does that make our experience less divine?
I don't know.
I mean, you're virtually saying the same thing. You're saying that in that scenario, it would be less divine. But also, if we're traversing different timelines and there was parallel universes, then this world, then maybe this whole divine thing is not even real. There is no divinity. There is not some
We're all
supreme divine beings. But right, exact. We are
the
the
center
gods.
of the universe, theoretically, like
We are our own
we're
gods.
all on our own little track.
exactly.
Yeah. I see
And
what you're saying.
And we're infinite beings. We infinitely go on and on and on because there's infinite numbers of us, infinite scenarios playing out. We truly never die.
I don't like that because it just makes me worry about all the other versions of me. Like I want to make sure they're okay.
Who gives a fuck?
I do. I give a fuck.
They got to focus on their own versions. You got to focus on your version right now. And who knows, when you go to sleep, you don't like, how do you know what your dreams are? You're in an alternate reality, in a different universe, living on a different time wave. And then you wake up and you come back to this one, and you go to bed and you go to a different one. And like,
Yeah.
it's completely different every time.
That is so.
Well, it really gives you a different
Weird.
perspective on spirituality too.
It does.
And people who are, communicate with the spirit world and channel different spirits and entities. And it really makes me wonder if in fact, what's actually happening is a future or past self is in fact the one giving you that information because they already know it. And therefore they're giving it to you, as opposed to it. I think a lot of times we really like to think of spirituality being this like beautiful, comforting place of love and light, and maybe that's not it at all. And in our heads as humans,
God,
we're
what?
like, that sounds really nice. It's comforting. It makes me feel better and like makes me feel safe and secure, knowing that there is this other side and all of this. But in fact, we could be sorely mistaken, and it is just our future selves subconsciously communicating with us. So mediums are actually talking to future versions of themselves that already have that information.
Maybe that's an interesting theory.
Or future selves of other people.
But what about when they're communicating with loved ones who've crossed over? for
Right.
example?
That's what I'm saying,
Like,
is that maybe there's a hack or something that
there's a hack. Wow,
There's
now
a
this is
cheat
getting too much
code.
for my brain. I don't know.
I'm just saying, I think it's interesting to consider
Yeah.
that perhaps
Yeah.
everything that we know and love about spirituality is in fact really time traveling versions of yourself, universe hopping, in order to give you that information.
And it's all just about this web of universes
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Right. And maybe consciously we're
That's just
experiencing this
overwhelming.
version, but then when we die, we instantly pop up into another one. And it's almost virtually like we didn't die. We close our eyes, our consciousness leaves this physical form, yet we're
Thinking
right
about
back at it.
yeah, I mean, thinking about there being multiple versions of you definitely makes you fear death a little less, because you're like, well, I'd still be alive somewhere, probably. Right? What does it actually mean to be you and be alive? It's the same consciousness stream among all those versions of yourself.
Could
from
be
the same place, or
it could be, or it's some type of universal consciousness that we are just perceiving as this particular character, I guess you could say,
for this lifetime.
Because if you think about it, somebody gave us our identity.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like our identity, we weren't born with our name. We weren't born, like, we were given an identity and something gave us a character to play when we're born.
But maybe our own selves gave us our own identities before we come onto the planet.
Right. Could
come
be.
into existence.
Could be. That one you could really think about for a long time.
Yeah.
Because there's infinite possibilities. So like the way that I've tried to approach it is I try to stay open to all of it. I mean, as much as I love spirituality and I love these ideas of divinity and, there being divine spirits and guides and all of that, my like logical side of my brain is like, well, Josh, like, let's look at the natural laws. Let's look at the laws of physics. Let's look at what we actually know about the universe. And when you start digging into especially time traveling, you're like, holy shit. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's just all human constructs that we've created because that makes more sense to us than actually digging. Because don't you feel like so many answers that we are looking for are just beyond our comprehension? Like we can't possibly our brains are too puny and unevolved in order to process that information and figure out who we really are. Where do we come from? Like we don't have that capability.
And I personally believe that we aren't supposed to know those things, that it's part of our journey having a life experience to not know the answers to those things, so that we can think about them and critically.
Who made that decision though?
I don't know. That's just like what I feel in my heart,
So you feel like there's some type of divine energy or force out there that put that rule in place?
In my personal beliefs.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people's personal beliefs.
I believe there's universal laws, and that's why we can't time travel and things like that. They're there to make sure our experiences.
So you don't think it's possible to time travel at all, period? Nobody in the universe is time traveling. That they're not allowed to.
I don't think they're able to go back to the same timeline if they do. I don't think they can affect
So time travel is possible if it's parallel
I mean, who am I to
universes.
say it's not possible? Einstein said it's fucking possible. So yeah, clearly it's possible.
But do you see how
I'm saying, but is it possible to go back, like change something on your timeline and go back?
So you're talking about specifically your timeline.
Right.
So
universal laws preventing us from changing our own timeline.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Going back into the past on our timeline in order to affect the future of that exact same timeline.
Yeah.
But you believe that there is a possibility that if we are able to time travel backwards, it would be on an alternate timeline that may look very identical to what we were just on, and we can affect that one.
That's how I personally see time travel, is like universe hopping, moving around. But I know, or I believe, you probably can't get back to your original spot once you jump, because there's so many versions. How would you even navigate back?
Right.
And it wouldn't be possible.
And you know who said that?
Who said that?
John Titor.
Oh yeah, John Titor did say that.
He did say that was his view on time travel as well. So let's go ahead and get into John Titor, because we've already done a whole episode on him, so we're going to kind of glaze over him a little bit.
The man, the legend.
The legend, some say the hoax, but a very interesting story.
Probably a hoax, most likely. Yeah. But very interesting. Yeah,
it is.
I love talking about John Teets.
So let's dive into John Titor.
Remember when I did the video on him the first time and I called him John Titor?
Oh, I know. There's still people that say John Titor.
Titor. Yeah, that was super cringe.
But anyways, let's go ahead and dive into John Titor. But before we do, we want to thank our last sponsors for today. I don't know if it's just me, but I love to eat. And I'll bet you there's someone out there listening to this that's eating while listening to this advertisement. Because I'm about to tell you about the best meal kit on the planet, and that is HelloFresh. HelloFresh delivers your meal kits right to your door with all the pre-measured ingredients you need, fresh produce, best quality meats you can possibly taste, and they give you a recipe that usually only takes 30 minutes or less to make. It's so easy, but best of all, you make a delicious home-cooked meal, and you don't have to go to the grocery store to get anything for it. It's that easy. What I love about HelloFresh is their variety of recipes. They have all types of food, whether you like Asian or Mexican or American. they've got a recipe for you. Or maybe you've never tried to make some of these other cuisine before. I know for me personally, I don't have a lot of experience cooking Asian cuisine. So I was happy to see that HelloFresh had a bunch of different recipes out there, and I've been learning ever since. Plus with HelloFresh, it's never been easier to go low-cal, carb-smart, vegetarian, or pescatarian. They have all those types of options for you. So no matter what type of dietary restrictions you have, HelloFresh can make it happen for you. HelloFresh might even cut down on your grocery bills. You can even save up to 40% as opposed to shopping at your local store. And because they deliver you pre-portioned ingredients, you're not overbuying. That was a huge problem that I had. I was always buying way too much food than I needed for 2 people. So now I don't have that issue anymore. And HelloFresh is customizable. It's flexible. You can stop and start it when you want. You can skip weeks when you want. And there's all types of extras you can add on to your meals. I mean, it's endless. And all the food, guys, is so, so delicious. So if you haven't tried HelloFresh yet, then I don't know what you're doing. Stop eating, stop doing whatever you're doing, and go to hellofresh.com/10milehigher. And make sure you use code 10milehigher for 10 free meals, including free shipping. Again, if you want to try HelloFresh, go to hellofresh.com/10milehigher. And then use code 10milehigher for 10 free meals, including free shipping. So what are you doing? Try out HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit today.
So Josh and I have quite a few animals. We have 10 pets total. We have 3 cats, and we've had our cats for a long time, pretty much since we've been together, and we love them so, so much. But of course, we don't love the smell that comes from their litter box. Everything from cleaning to covering up the smell is such a constant battle, and that's why we like to use Pretty Litter. Pretty Litter is kitty litter reinvented, and it's unlike traditional litter. Pretty Litter's super light crystals trap odor and release moisture, resulting in dry, low-maintenance litter that does not smell. And Pretty Litter is virtually dust-free because it is manufactured with a specialized de-dusting process. Pretty Litter arrives safely at your door in small, lightweight bags that last up to a month. And you can also get your litter bags auto ship, so you don't have to deal with that last minute trip to the store. And shipping is free. But above all else, the coolest thing about Pretty Litter by far is that it's a health indicator. Pretty Litter monitors our cat's health by changing colors when it detects potential underlying issues. And you definitely won't find that kind of innovation in any conventional litter. So get the world's smartest litter without leaving home by visiting prettylitter.com and use promo code MILEHIGHER for 20% off your first order. That's prettylitter.com, promo code MILEHIGHER for 20% off. prettylitter.com, promo code MILEHIGHER.
John Titor took the internet by storm. Really got a lot of people to believe in his story. That's for sure.
Yeah, tons of our followers, I know, believe in the story of John Titor.
Which again, I mean,
and I don't rule it out.
You can't rule it out completely.
No, it's very intriguing.
Obviously, there's a lot of things that I think people question. They're like, I don't know about that. But I mean, who are we to say John Titor never existed? He's not a real time traveler.
Yeah.
I mean, he was pretty convincing. If he wasn't real, then he was very, very convincing.
Clearly, whoever this person was knew some shit.
Absolutely.
We can all agree on that.
Knew a lot of the shit that we just talked about and was like, very, very deeply researched the whole concept of time travel, knew what would be required in order for time travel to be possible. Did it all make sense scientifically? Not necessarily, but they clearly knew some shit. So the whole John Titor story starts in the early days of the internet when a user calling themselves timetravel_0 began posting on message boards of the Time Travel Institute. And over a course of multiple posts, this user, Time Travel 0, revealed he was a soldier from the year 2036. And he was trying to warn people about a bunch of shit that was about to go down. Civil, nuclear wars, the worst of the worst. Basically the end of the world, it seems like.
Well, kind of. More like the resetting of the world. He said he came from like a calmer place, though.
Yes.
Post everything.
Yeah, it's interesting. His whole concept of like life after it is very... It's like a utopia, that's
why I think it's so intriguing to people it's like, wow, could it really be like that one day?
He took the classic story that I think we all like to tell ourselves that things are going to get better. We're going to one day hopefully get to this place of peace and harmony and love where we all are a one community and we get along and trade and, do
we
like
get
money
back to
goes
music
away.
And, get back to our roots and,
family.
Service work and family is most valued again. And
the whole
society
world
like gets
shifts. An awakened world.
back, basically. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's what he was suggesting he was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And so he clearly had the ability, the technology in order to travel back to 1998 is when he started popping up.
And he was warned. It's so weird though. He's coming back to warn people about all this shit that's going to go down. Which, by the way, like that's the thing. Half the shit he predicts did not happen.
He said World War III was going to be going on.
Yeah, it should have already happened. According to him.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people are like, well, if you interpret it, maybe we kind of are in World War III.
Yeah, but he was pretty specific.
Heated politically and everything.
He said there'd be like a mad cow disease that would fuck people up.
Yeah. And if it's serious enough to come back, like I'm sure it was, something serious.
Right. If you're going to time travel and
but
risk
why? What would be the point if it's so great now and he's like gotten to the utopia and it's
why leave
so calm? Why come back and try to change anything? Like if that's what the world needs to, if that's real and the world needs to like hit rock bottom before we can get back to basics and get our priorities straight again, why would you need to come back and alter the timeline? Because that would like, you wouldn't end up there, Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that kind of like fucks up his whole story right there. It's like, what are you doing? What's the point of this?
What's the point? It doesn't change. You're not changing it from
he's like, I have
happening.
to warn you,
but that doesn't.
But then he's like, it's so great though in the future.
See, and that's where the first breakdown is for me. Is just that part right there becomes hard to believe because when you actually know anything about time travel, you realize like that would be very stupid of him to do that. Why would he even do that? Why would he waste the time and energy and risk his own life in order to come back and just warn his past self, like be like, hey,
he's just like trying to warn people, like just on 4chan.
Yeah, on the forums, like
just these random people. Why wouldn't you go to like important people or
go right to the White House? Say, I'm a time traveler from 2036. We got to avoid these mass catastrophes that are about to happen. Here's my time machine.
Yeah, and he doesn't give specific things. I mean, I love the John Titor story because it's almost like a movie. What he talks about is just so interesting. It's like a fantasy.
Yeah.
And then he kind of predicted the Challenger explosion. That's an argument, which he like very loosely, inadvertently. He said there was like going to be a rocket explosion, pretty much, if I remember.
At that point, you just sound like a psychic that makes predictions.
Yeah. He's like, his track record's not good.
Well, even like futurists will make future predictions. Like futurists would be like, this type of technology is going to happen. I mean, they don't predict like events necessarily with the world and political events.
They make like educated guesses.
Yeah, based on like what technology is going to bring around and stuff. And they're more accurate at that than
John Titor was.
So actually, I wanted to read one of his first faxes because one of the first things that he did was he faxed. Which I'm like, really? Time travelers getting the old fax machine going?
Yeah, right.
To send a message to Art Bell at Coast to Coast.
Yeah,
back in the day. AM. So here's one of the first faxes he sent. He said, "Dear Art, I had
first of all, if you don't know, Art Bell hosted a show,
legendary
Coast to Coast AM. A lot of people know about it, but anyway,
really helped get this story going and really
he's like big in the conspiracy,
paranormal, and all world. Unexplained. Yeah, exactly. So this fax said, "Dear Art, I had to fax when I heard other time travelers calling in from any time past the year 2500 AD." Because he would take the wildest conversations he'd have. People claiming they're this, claiming they're alien this, they're, time traveler. And people still do it. But John Titor said, please let me explain. Time travel was invented in 2034. Offshoots of certain successful fusion reactor research allowed scientists at CERN,
which was kind of like crazy that he knew a lot of this stuff. This was old. This
knew some shit.
Yeah.
Clearly. He said, time travel was invented in 2034, and offshoots of certain successful fusion reactor research allowed scientists at CERN to produce the world's first contained singularity engine. The basic design involves rotating singularities inside a magnetic field, and by altering the speed and direction of rotation, you can travel both forward and backward in time. Which singularities is what he's talking about is black holes. And CERN, it's interesting because this was a while ago, but CERN, I believe, was attempting to actually create micro black holes
Oh, yeah.
in a lab. Like that's something they're actually doing. Like
Yes.
if they haven't already done it,
Oh, yeah, probably already have.
which that whole concept just blows my mind. I'm like, whoa, that's kind of scary because even a micro black micro black hole could literally suck the entire planet into it.
That's so weird.
If it became unharnessed. Yeah.
The fuck?
Yeah. How do you even fucking,
don't know.
all right, guys, we're going to spin up a black hole today.
That's wild.
How would you even do that?
That's scary. Imagine working with that in your job. God.
World's most dangerous job.
Seriously.
I create
Imagine the
black
people that
holes for a
work at
living.
CERN. They must have
Yeah.
some stories.
Oh, I'm sure. He went on to say, time itself can be understood in terms of connected lines. When you go back in time, you travel on your original timeline. When you turn the singularity engine off, a new timeline is created due to the fact that you and your time machine are now there.
So he's kind of piggybacking off of even Einstein's theories. So
Yes.
it's not like that
No.
revolutionary what he's saying. It just wasn't very commonly talked about back then.
Well, and I mean, this is purely made up from him as far as the whole singularity engine.
No, exactly.
You turn the engine
but the
off.
concept of
Yes.
a new timeline is what I'm
Right.
saying.
He
is
clearly
Einstein.
understood Einstein's theory of general relativity. He understood what that meant and what the implications were of that. He went on to say that there's some interesting outcomes from doing this. One, you meet yourself. I've done it often, even taken a younger version of myself along for a few rides before returning myself to the new timeline and going back to mine.
Oh yeah, John Titor talks about how he went and like stayed with his childhood family and his childhood self and like held his baby version of himself.
See, I'm like, that's
weird.
too simple.
Right?
That's way too
yeah.
simple.
What the fuck? And wouldn't there be like tons of people doing that?
Yeah, right?
He's the only one.
And he said most of the time the changes are subtle. Sometimes I'll notice car models that don't exist or books that come out late. And I'm just like, it just seems also like really you're paying attention to like, it just seems too convenient. It's too story-like. And I think that's why we like it so much. Is
Yeah.
It seems like somebody like thought up a
It's a fun fantasy
fiction story. Yeah.
That's why I still like talking about John Titor,
Yeah.
even though I know it's likely not real. It's still like entertaining
It is.
to think about.
He went on to say, unfortunately, it was also discovered that anyone going forward in time from my 2036 hit a brick wall in the year 2564. Please pray that we discover the reason why there is no apparent future after 2564. Which basically he's saying we tried to travel into the future as far as we could,
But it's not there.
but literally we're traveling through fucking space time and a brick wall comes out of nowhere. We slam into it and it bounces us back to our original timeline. To me, that doesn't seem very quantum to me, like quantum mechanical to me at all. That seems very like, I kind of understand this shit, but
Yeah.
I kind of don't.
Took some creative freedom there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole please pray that we discover what happens after that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Okay. But his whole mission was to come back in time in order to get an IBM 5100, which his
Right.
grandfather had helped design.
Right.
And apparently, because this was one of the first portable personal computers, there was a way to correct predicted issues with Unix, which was the operating system of this computer, in his timeline. And so after he went back and got the computer, he stopped in the year 2000 for personal reasons, where that's when he started warning everybody about all these events that were going to
Spent
happen.
some time, just a little hop off. you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. For like, I think it was like
Held
a year.
his childhood self.
Yeah. Had like a year of
Talked with his parents. Got a lawyer. And that's what's so weird about this is the dude has a lawyer,
Larry Haber.
Larry Haber, in Florida. And he's a real lawyer. He's got an office. There's like a clip
He's
of
got an
him.
office.
Yeah, anyone, if you got an office, you're real. So, I mean, is this guy just full of shit? He's just doing this like for fun? Or is it all kind of an act? Is it some rich guy just paying a lawyer? And like he like claims the family's real. He claims it's all real.
Yeah, but his son is also like really
Oh, yeah.
smart. He has like a physicist son
His
or
son's
something.
all into
yeah.
it. Right. We have a whole, like we said, we have an
He
episode.
has
on
really
this.
smart son that could have
Yes.
easily helped him come up with this whole thing. Because
But
they
he
did,
denies it. He's like, my son
I know,
didn't do it.
I know. And they did present drawings of the design, and there's a lot more to it, obviously.
There's so much to it.
because John Titor did present like, here's what my time machine looks like. Here's how it works.
He
Here's
showed
kind
it
of
in
the
a
blueprints.
suitcase.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had like blueprints, and people have checked that out, the blueprints, and can't figure out where it's from. It's not from anything else. It's something original. Whoever did this made those.
Definitely put some thought into it. I mean,
Yeah.
Theoretically, it makes sense, I guess you could say, but scientifically, I don't think it would ever work.
Well, he's the closest we have to maybe a possibility. I feel like with all the other time travelers out there, like we were thinking about for this episode, reacting to a bunch of time travelers and like bringing up clips, and maybe we can still do that in the future if that's something you guys would be interested in.
If we can find some genuine ones.
No, there's no genuine ones. They're like, it would just be us making fun of them. And then, it would just be Bigfoot all over again because they're so ridiculous. Some of these time travelers on YouTube, TikTok, they're making all these claims. They're like, wait till this day, and then nothing happens. And they're so full of shit. John Titor's the only one who really has like there's so much to John
Presented
Titor.
the full story.
Yeah. You can sit here and talk about him for hours. Yeah. There's
Larry Haber.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's him or somebody involved with him has a book on John Titor.
Right.
Because he's the CEO of the John Titor Foundation. There's a whole foundation for it. He's the entertainment lawyer for the family.
He's the most legit time traveler case. I think you could say. Not legit.
And he won't even say if it's true or not either. He's just like, well, I just get paid to do this. Somebody's paying me to do this.
Yeah.
So there's like some mystery.
And he's an
around
entertainment lawyer too.
Right,
so
right.
It's like,
this could be like a really good author that just like, came up with this story.
Or just a smart rich person who's bored.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people do hoaxes all the time. People create fake stories like this all the time.
Yeah.
Stan Romanek. Yeah. But anyways.
Literally like half the people on TikTok too.
Yeah, exactly. So John Titor disappeared in 2000. I think it was like March 2001 was like the last we heard from him. And then he disappeared from all internet forums and it's never been heard from again. And we don't know where he went, if he went back to his original timeline. But
he's in 2036, right? And he's chilling.
He went back to 20. Yeah.
They're playing good music there. Everything's good.
Bob Marley on the beach.
Why would he want to come back?
Seriously. I wouldn't. Screw it. But again, if you want to hear more about John Titor, we do have a whole episode on it where we go through all the predictions and everything. So if you haven't heard that, we'll link that below for you if you want to check that out. But the last thing I wanted to talk about before we react to some photos of potential time travelers is this guy really interested me and we actually talked about this on the show before, but this professor from Montana Tech, he's a professor of anthropology, Michael Masters. He laid out a really interesting theory about the whole UFO phenomenon. And in his theory, he's saying that the UFOs that we're seeing are, in fact, future humans coming back to observe us, much like an archaeologist finds ancient relics in the ground. It's very similar. Like future humans are utilizing this craft in order to manipulate space-time, in order to time travel through the universe and through time, in order to come back and view their past selves.
Didn't John Titor say that shit too, though?
I think something very similar to that. Yeah.
He did.
Yeah. And so, maybe the aliens or whatever are not actually extraterrestrials at all. They're just future humans that are coming back and visiting us. And they don't interact with us because they can't interact with the timeline, but they're just viewing us because it's just a fun thing to do. They're studying us. It's like going back and doing archaeology in the future.
And maybe it's so common you can just do that.
Yeah,
teenagers just
exactly.
do it on their off hours.
Even like hundreds in our off hours, maybe. But think about like what archaeologists do right now. I mean, we're digging up tens of thousands of year old objects just from the ground.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we pull something out of the ground that's been preserved in the permafrost, that's 20,000 years old. Have you seen some of the shit they're pulling out of the permafrost? I'm like, damn, like full blown furry ass mammoths, like baby mammoths being pulled out of the permafrost. It still has his hair on it.
Dude, so much shit's under the ice.
So weird. Oh yeah. Under the permafrost?
We should just do an episode called like Under the Ice.
Under the ice.
So much.
Seriously though, there's so much under there. So if you look at it from that perspective, Professor Masters said, then why wouldn't there be future humans that are coming back in order to do their own archaeology, except, obviously they're not here to dig us up, but they're here to just observe our way of life, see what we're doing, to study it for the future. Very interesting. And he also went on to say that he thinks that sometime in the future, there might even be time traveling might become a form of tourism.
Oh, that's super interesting.
Like
to
you
think
can
about.
pay to time travel.
Imagine if that was like a field trip, like
Yeah,
straight up
right.
Mrs. like Frizzle's school bus. What was that show? Magic School Bus.
Oh shit. Magic
Right?
School
That was
Bus.
so fucking lit.
Yeah.
What's
Wasn't her name Miss Frizzle?
I don't know.
Frizzle.
Probably.
It sounds right.
Yeah, I think it is.
Magic School Bus.
Josh has to look it up. What's her name?
Damn.
Frizzle?
Good memory.
Hell yeah.
Her name's Valerie Frizzle.
Yeah, she had bomb. She's redhead, right?
Yep.
She's cool looking.
Wow. That was a great show, by the way.
That was.
Wonder if they did one on
Anyway.
time travel. So maybe at the end of this journey in the UFO world, we're all expecting to, we manage to capture a UFO, if even that's possible.
Yeah.
And we open it up and there's this like super advanced human being that walks out that is the same DNA as us, but is just millions of years into the future or even tens of thousands of years. What would a human
Whoa.
being look like? Would we even look the same? Maybe he's a cyborg.
No.
Maybe he's like got metal and
Yeah.
like it's a human head, or they're able to change their entire appearance. I mean,
Well, our bodies have changed so much just like in the past couple hundred years, right?
yeah, right.
God, you're talking
And over
millions of years.
Yeah, and even over millions of years of time, would the human continue evolving
Probably.
and developing and creating
hope we
new
make it that
characteristics? Right, if we even make it that long, but it's possible. It's possible. So I find that theory very interesting that UFOs could be future humans or time travelers visiting us, as opposed to aliens from another planet.
That would make a lot of sense.
So a very real possibility. But to end the show, I thought it'd be fun and interesting to take a look at some pretty well-known photographs or famous photographs in the time travel community that people say are very odd because there's something about them, or there's somebody in these photographs that just kind of it's kind of like a Where's Waldo situation. There's somebody that looks out of
Yeah.
place
Yeah,
and
they
they're
are
doing
fun.
something that just doesn't fit for that time period.
Okay, let's see it.
Okay. So we'll call this photo the time traveling hipster. This particular photo you're looking at was snapped in 1941 at the reopening ceremony of the South Fork Bridge in British Columbia. And if you look very carefully on the right-hand side, you'll notice a guy, I'm sure you can spot him, that just looks out of place in this photograph compared to everybody around him. He's this unusually dressed man in this particular photograph. He's got sunglasses on, it looks like, or goggles even. It almost looks like he's got like goggles on.
Definitely not anything that people would wear back then.
And look at it. He looks like he's wearing
So
like
out
a
of
zip up
place.
hoodie or something.
Yeah.
Because look at the people right next to him. They're all wearing, all the men are wearing hats for the
Almost
most
looks like
part.
he's got like an Under Armour shirt on or something. Yeah, it's really weird. I've seen that. This is definitely the most popular one. And this has been highly scrutinized, right? This photo, people have tried to see
Yeah.
if it's, no one can prove that it's photoshopped.
I guess it could be. That's a pretty good Photoshop though.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have looked at it and haven't been able to.
But from 1941, that dude just does not look.
No, he does not
Like
look like
he's a part of that crowd at
1941. What
all.
the fuck is that?
His haircut doesn't look 1941.
But it's so hard to trust because maybe there is a chance that
Yeah.
it had just been mocked up. But it's weird. Yeah,
or
I
like
want to know.
someone like maybe removed his hat or like changed
Oh,
his
yeah.
shirt, like superimposed a different shirt on there. Like who knows?
But like I said, it's been super scrutinized. This is
Yeah.
a really popular image.
Yeah, it is. It's probably
And
one of the most
people would have
popular.
figured that out. I mean, people like know when people Photoshop, you know.
I don't think it would be a part of this list if it wasn't genuine photograph.
Yeah, it's very weird. I wonder if any of you guys know any more about this or have thoughts on this photo in particular.
But the next photograph is from the 1962 World Cup, and it shows the celebrations of the Brazilian team after they just won. Shows a guy lifting the trophy.
Yes.
Now, you don't notice it right away,
I'm
but
not
at
seeing
the
it.
very bottom of the screen, do you see that little, what looks like a flip phone at the bottom?
Oh yeah.
So a
Looks
lot
like
of
a
people
razor
say
phone.
someone has literally got a flip phone snapping a picture, which I mean, when you look at these,
Oh.
you're like, why would a time traveler be doing something like that. But
like out in the open, wouldn't everyone be staring at them like, what's that? Yeah.
But if you put that aside, it does kind of look like somebody is holding a cell phone. Obviously, it's not clear enough to really make out what that object is, but it does almost look like it's got like a keypad, because you can almost see like what looks like fingers at the bottom portion of it, and then it's got a hinge.
Press around, so I wonder if it's some type of like microphone.
Yeah, or even a camera of some sort. Even it's really hard to say.
He's not noticing it. It's right in front of him, and he doesn't seem to notice it.
But look at these other two faces to the right here. They're looking at whatever this person is.
Razor. It really does.
But then if you look to right to the left, there is somebody holding a camera though. So what is that thing?
A flash? Like a light?
Maybe. Yeah, it could be a light or something possibly. Yeah, it's very odd. But this is kind of a reoccurring theme with these photos is if they are potential time travelers, they've all decided to whip out their mobile phones or their mobile devices in these photos, because a lot of these have to do with people in old photographs that look like they're looking at a phone, like this one. The time traveling sun seeker. I'm sure you can spot him.
Not yet. I haven't.
Right in the middle of this photograph.
Oh, okay. That's pretty obvious.
He's like tweeting.
Yeah.
Whoa, what the fuck? Yeah.
Doesn't he look like how we all look?
But
Like
he could be
out
like
of
taking his
place.
fingernail or something.
Yeah. Wait, zoom in on his ass. Let me see.
Can we get the
Why is
microscopic
he
view?
wearing this outfit at the beach, though? That's what I'm concerned about. Yeah,
Oh.
he does kind of look like he's like tweeting.
Wait, but look at all the guys are wearing pantsuits.
Oh yeah, that was just the weird times where people wore way too much close to the fucking beach. But okay, yeah. I mean, there is like a million things he could be doing. He could be like tying a little knot or like untying a little knot.
It's impossible to know what he's looking
fixing
at.
his wife's necklace.
Yeah.
Like who knows?
Yeah, not a great example. This next photo shows a scene from downtown. This next photo shows a scene from downtown Reykjavik in 1943. In the heart of wartime, soldiers and sailors can be seen everywhere in the streets among civilians. And the man circled, though, appears to be on a mobile phone.
Yeah.
Holding it to his ear.
He does, but maybe he's just like picking his earwax.
Zoom in on him and
Yeah, let's see a little
look at
closer.
his hand, though.
It does seem to be holding something.
And he's like looking at whoever took this photograph, that person's like looking at it too. Like almost looks like, oh shit, you got me. Taking a picture of me. Looks like surprised a little bit.
Okay, so let's say he's a time traveler. Who's he fucking talking on the phone with at this time where no one else has phones?
He's a secret agent.
He's talking to people in the future?
I don't know.
I think
Maybe.
he's picking his earwax, but that's just
earwax.
I agree.
Well, it's also interesting too is that there were these like hearing aid type things that people would hold up, like ear trumpets.
Oh, ear trumpets.
Yeah, they're like
interesting.
Yeah, they're like these things that had like a little ear hole on one end and then like a trumpet end.
He could be fixing his AirPods.
Exactly. Simple explanation.
Readjusting the AirPods.
Yeah.
Could be. In 1943,
Yep, that's right.
brought his AirPods back, just
Look at
bumping
those
on the street.
jackets. These guys are like styling. Like you never see a guy in a nice like styling jacket like that now. Like they look just like people just had such class back then. Like look at their hats.
What are you trying to say, Kendall?
I don't know. They're just so like
We're classless.
No, I can't
trash.
imagine. Like I feel like it's a lot of pressure to live back then. Like there is like
Well, that was a standard.
you can't slum it. You know, I like show up to Target in my yoga pants and socks and my Birkenstocks. Like it doesn't seem like that was allowed back then.
No,
Look
are you
how
kidding me? A
fancy
woman
they
would be
are.
reprimanded for that.
Yeah, shit.
Different time, different place.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't think that guy's a time traveler, though. To be honest.
Yeah.
This
I
next
say
photo is
no.
kind of interesting now because I do kind of wonder about this one. So this image is from 1905, and it just shows like a normal scene at a dock where they're delivering goods from a boat. But you can see there's a guy who's got a mohawk haircut with a white shirt. You can kind of tell he's got a mohawk going. He has no hair on either side of his head.
Wait, I feel like that was a pretty common hairstyle back then, though. Like, I feel like I've seen movies that take place where they're like fairly, like, I feel like that's not that.
With like a mohawk
Can we
haircut.
zoom in on the
straight up
person?
mohawk, though.
I
This
don't
guy
see
right
it.
here.
Oh,
It's
that
a strip. It's a strip of hair on the top. That's a mohawk.
No, that looks like
That's
a
not like-
military type.
Yeah,
cut.
that's exactly what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's not like a I thought you meant like
Yeah.
spiky mohawk.
No, I don't think he just shaved the sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pictured when you said mohawk, I thought it was gonna be like a
behind,
punk
like,
rock.
yeah, exactly, like a straight up like metal band like member.
He has hair gel in there and shit in 1905.
No, that just looks like he shaved the sides of his head.
I don't know haircut history, but
Well, just because it wasn't in style doesn't mean one person wasn't like willing to go against the crowd and just do something wild to
and we
their hair.
happened to uncover this photograph too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it proves time travel.
Look at this guy's haircut.
The first image is still the strongest
Okay.
and trips me out the most.
All
Some of
right.
these I'm thinking of explanations for.
Okay,
but-
let's take a look at this one. This one's actually a film clip, which was recorded during Charlie Chaplin's 1928 silent film, The Circus.
Okay.
And you have to watch carefully in this clip because you'll see what appears to be a lady dressed in all black, wearing a hat and walking around the set, talking on her mobile phone. I don't think there's any sound because it's a silent film.
Yeah.
So, all right. So there's like a zebra and there's just like people walking around, working on the set. You can see that person who's got the black coat on that's walking. It looks like a lady.
Yes.
And they're holding something to their ear. Here's a zoomed in
yeah.
look. Literally looks like they're walking around talking on the phone.
Oh, it does. That's weird. Okay, that's pretty weird. That's interesting.
Has their other hand up almost like they're
what
talking.
else was she doing? Oh, she does look like she's talking too. Like the way she's pacing around looks like she's thinking. And wow, that's
This is
kinda weird.
1928.
Yeah, what the fuck? That's very strange.
I could be wrong, but I believe this one was debunked in a sense. Like people, this was the scenario where it did turn out to be some type of listening device or like hearing aid that she was
Okay.
holding up to her ear.
Okay.
But honestly, it does kind of look like it is something rectangular because the way that her hand is sitting on it versus like
She looks so
holding.
natural with it,
Yeah.
whatever it is. She looks like she's very used to holding it like that. And
Yeah, that's why people say it could be like an antique hearing aid or some type of.
which we have a picture. If you go back there, yeah. That's what it could have looked
She could
like.
be holding something like that against her ear.
A big thing. Okay, maybe. That's pretty weird though. That one's interesting. I'd say the first image and that one are the strongest
Yeah.
and most interesting to ponder.
Mm-hmm. But one of the last things I want to bring up, because this is just funny to consider, is time traveling celebrities.
Oh yes, this is fun.
So
I love these. How do we know that these are real old photos though? I swear some of these have been like photoshopped.
yeah. Well, this one I believe we know is 100% real.
So if you're listening, these are photos of celebrities. Well, they're
And I only
old
have-
photos that they're like doppelgangers. Is that the word?
Doppelgangers.
Doppelganger.
Doppelganger.
Doppelgangers. I always say
Topanga.
Topangas. But yes, they're whatever the
Which
fuck.
these are just like two of them. There's probably more out there, but these are like some of the two most well-known that we know the pictures are legit. So on the left, you've got revolutionary leader Mahir Khayan, who was born in 1946 and died in 1972. And then you got Jimmy Fallon next to him, and this is an actual
I don't even.
person.
Oh, so that's okay.
They don't even look that similar to me, honestly.
They're not that similar. It's like
their face
oh yeah,
shape's totally different. I feel
yeah,
like.
yeah.
Jimmy Fallon's got a way more squared jaw.
I've seen some that are like striking, like the ones of like Pharrell, but I don't know if those are even
Yeah.
real.
That's the thing is like a lot
and like
of them
there's a
aren't.
Seth Rogen one.
Yeah. Well, you could go back in time and probably find anybody.
There's a Justin Timberlake one,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like I don't know. I just
There's no way to know.
yeah.
But the big one that went viral, I think last year was.
Oh yeah, we talked about this as an intro topic one time.
Greta.
Yep.
There was a photo that surfaced from 1898,
Oh yeah, I remember this one big on Twitter.
which showed 3 children working at a gold mine in Canada's Yukon Territory. And I mean,
She looks similar, but like it's possible for humans to look similar.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
It's not like striking to me. It looks like a little girl without makeup. She's got her hair in braids. It's like
similar face for sure, similar hairstyle. I think what's really making the connection for us is the hair, like the fact that she's got braids and the face is somewhat similar. But honestly, I feel like the eyes kind of look different.
Mhm.
They kind of turn a different way. So I guess that, a lot of people like to theorize that maybe some of these people that are super influential that do have a huge impact on our current timeline are in fact time travelers.
Or they're kind of like immortal. They're just
they're kind of just moving around, helping the world move along.
very interesting.
And that there could be more out there. There could be more celebrities out there that are time traveling and attempts to affect. All right. So, time travel. Absolutely possible. Maybe we'll achieve it one day. But as of right now, not happening, at least as far as we know.
I want to know, to our audience, if you could time travel, would you rather go into the future or would you rather go into the past? Or would you just rather not time travel at all? Would it freak you out too much? Would you want to?
Yeah. And you'd have to understand that under those conditions, you could potentially end up on an alternate timeline if you go into the past.
Never get back to where you came
You'll never
from.
get back to the same universe you started in.
What if something goes wrong and you end up like old or something?
Yeah.
Just too much
You
risk.
make your situation worse.
Sounds so scary. I mean, personally, I don't think I would time travel. I would turn that down. I just don't feel like I'm meant to do that, you know?
But then the
I don't
future,
think any of us are.
if you time travel into the future, wouldn't you eventually experience your death?
Right.
Or see your death?
Well, then, it reminds me of Click.
Yeah.
You know, that Adam Sandler movie. Have you seen that one,
That's a
Janelle?
good one.
I know you don't watch any movies. But
Oh my God. That's a great one because that does have to deal with time travel.
And I was thinking about it earlier because in that movie, you can't go back in time. You can only go forward. So he can fast forward his life.
So
he
he'd be
gets
like,
this little remote and he's able to like fast forward or so it's kind of like a joke. He like fast forward when his wife is bitching at him and stuff. He'll like fast forward her, mute her, or like, but the only thing you can't go back. But then in the movie, he like kind of fast forwards too far and it fucks up his life.
Yeah.
Because
his life falls apart.
Meant to do it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, maybe that's
why
what going into the future is like.
Hell no, then, because that movie like literally shook me. Scary. It's weird. It's
it
like
honestly
sad. I like
is.
sobbed at the end of that movie.
No, it definitely
it's like
gets you.
devastating. He's like his kids, and he's like missed out on all their lives. Oh, it's so fucking emotional.
So maybe it comes back to your point. Maybe we're not meant to time travel. Maybe we're meant to just live in the present, and that's it. That's all we're capable of doing. That's all what we're supposed to do. If there is some sort of divine plan, if there's some other,
bigger reason for all of it. Yeah, is it messing that up?
Yeah. Are we working against fate? Are we working against our destiny? Are we working against the master plan?
Well, I mean, maybe that's an argument too, but yeah, I think it's more like working against the human experience. I think there's only
it's just like a natural law in the universe that we are not meant to experience time differently from how we do right now.
Yeah.
Second by second, we're not supposed to be able to travel any faster or slow it down. Or
I wish we could slow it down a little bit, honestly. Like, gosh,
go
gonna have kids here soon. I would like to like get another if we could just go back to 23, that'd be nice. Just get a few extra 5 more years. That'd be kind of nice to turn back time, get some extra.
Even
years.
if it's on a parallel timeline.
Nah. See, that's what
and all of a sudden it's totally different.
So I just wouldn't time travel. Just wouldn't. Janelle, would you time travel?
Only to the future, maybe just to see what's up.
Oh, okay. See
just
what's up.
to see what I would travel maybe if I could 300 years into the future just to see what's going on.
Okay. Would you travel to the end of your own life and see your death?
Fuck no.
They'd traumatize you forever.
Oh my God, no. I have enough fear of death. I don't need to go in and explore that. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Because I was wondering, I'm like, what happens if you did time travel beyond the year you die?
Yeah,
what would happen? Would the time machine stop? Would you just stop at the year you die and then
that's
what?
a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother episode for a different day.
Hopefully we've blown your minds a little bit today.
Planted some seeds. Let us know what you guys think of this topic. And if there's any other kind of offshoot topics you'd like to see us tackle in the future.
I always love talking about this stuff. This stuff is just so interesting and it's just fun to contemplate. And I mean, we literally will talk about this just on a regular night. I feel like we'll just be like, time, we'll just start this whole thing up.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's share this conversation with all you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed. Also make sure you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts. It does really help us out. So if you're only watching on YouTube, take a second, hop over to Apple Podcasts, even in another parallel universe, and subscribe. Follow us on Spotify. Check out our merch too. Got some merch out there still.
Yeah, we do. And we're doing a bunch of restocks on some of the most popular items that we've been getting a lot of requests to bring back.
Absolutely.
So check it out.
check it out, milehighmerch.com. But that is it for us today.
That is.
We will see you guys next time. Stay safe
And stay woke.